Welcome to this week's episode, which is number 3. If you watched last week's, it was talking about me and my journey, which I started before Robert. So this week, we're just gonna get right into it, and it's all about Robert. What was going through your head back when I was telling you that I can't do this anymore?
I don't really know if anything was going through my head. It was, we had both been struggling with the concept of getting healthier and losing weight. Specifically, I can't say getting healthier, it was just losing weight. That's the only thing we kind of translated to. I watched you put the time and effort in well before I even attempted to take and put time and effort in. For anybody that's ever listened to us, just in general conversation, and people ask me, what is my why? Why did I start? And I always say, oh, it's because of you. First and foremost, Jen's energy level went from 0 to 100. Energy level spikes up. I get a circular in the mail from our health system. I go in, they do your weight, they do your height, blood pressure, all that good jazz. And the only thing that was said at that point was, do you have any ailments that you need to bring to my attention? No, I didn't have any. And they said, your blood pressure's high. And I was like, oh, it's always high, right? It was not an indicator of my health at that point. Get my blood work done, go on my way, feeling good about myself. I've actually went and saw the doctor. And then ultimately, I get a phone call back the next day that says, we got your blood results back and we need you back in the office. And so the first thing you do is go, what the mother, you are absolutely sidelined because that's not the call you want from your doctor's office after they do blood work. So ended up going back in there and the doctor said, you're diabetic. So the question is how do you know I'm diabetic? And he just kind of looked at me and he said, well, your A1C is 11.8 and your blood glucose count is 343. You're basically a walking diabetic coma.
Crazy.
And I was just floored. So with that high of an A1C, that high of blood glucose, I should have had ocular neuropathy, which means my eyes went bad and blurred vision. Mm-hmm. I should have been in the middle of conversations and just passing out because my blood sugar was so high.
That's bad.
I was essentially a walking diabetic coma without any outside indicators of how sick I actually was.
Yeah.
So that started the conversation with my provider.
What did you do right after you got that news?
Well, so that was part of the discussion with my doctors. We had a discussion about him saying I'm diabetic. He's going to put me on a lot of medication. Me saying don't put that in my medical records.
Yeah.
I have a poor lifestyle. Let me make those changes first.
Because, side note here, y'all, how many sweet teas would you drink when we would go to dinner?
Oh, wow. Let's see. So those of y'all who are familiar with the size of the sweet tea glasses at, let's say, Texas Roadhouse, I would have between 4 and 5 sweet teas before whatever meal we were planning. And then I would have at least 2 to 3 inside the meal.
Yeah.
And then I usually take 1 to go. So it could be anywhere between 6 to 10 sweet teas before, through the whole meal. And you can see, imagine how much sugar that is.
The sweeter the better is the way you like it.
The sweeter the better.
Oh, yeah. Southern sweet tea.
In addition to that, I did not keep sweet tea at home.
No,
so at home, it was
soda.
It was either 2 types of sodas. It was either a liter bottle, not a 2 liter, but just a liter bottle, because I was trying to be mindful about my consumption. It was either a liter bottle of Big Red or a liter bottle of Fanta Orange. The discussion, to make a long story really short, was let me make my lifestyle change. Do not classify me as diabetic in my medical record. And so the very first thing that I did is I just cut out consuming my calories, which means I cut out all sweet teas and all sodas, right? That was the only change I made. Now remember, in this particular moment, Jen is in the gym. Jen is working out, watching everything she eats, logging, counting everything. And all I've made a decision to do was stop drinking sweet teas, stop drinking sodas, don't drink any more juices, and focus just on water.
What do you think happened? Tell me, what do you think? he lost like 30 pounds within a month.
50.
I mean, 50 pounds like
Well,
that. I mean,
50 over 90 days because I did lose 50 pounds
still.
over 90 days. My A1C went from 11.8 to a 7.1. And I ended up taking and switching doctors. He said, let's keep subscribing metformin. And I told him the same thing I told my previous PCP is I will only take it until that point I'm no longer pre-diabetic. And then I will stop taking medications because I do not like taking medications.
Same.
So 90 days after that, went from a 7.1 to a 6.9. 90 days after that to a 6.2. And then now the last one I checked, I know I hit 5.6. And I said, that's the actually reference range high. So I cut my medication off. And then most recently I was 5.2. So obviously, you know, I wasn't type 1 diabetic where I needed insulin. I was type 2 diabetic, which is really lifestyle and driven.
Right, but you caught it early enough where you could reverse it like that.
Well,
so
I caught it probably early enough that I was right on the cusp of a major catastrophe.
Yes.
A major medical catastrophe. I'm 47 years old, right? Just turned 47 November 1st. I have an office job, but I've only had this particular office job for the last 3 years. The prior 10 to 12 years, 15 years, I was a road warrior. It actually put me on the road probably about 300 plus days a year. So I lived in hotels, hospitals, and airports. So my diet never changed in that time. And you can see I was generally just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So fast forward, that was my why. My why was I had two distinct whys that led me on my journey. One, first and foremost, and this may sound odd, was in order for me to be a good husband, I had to match my wife's energy level. So regardless of how I felt my health was, I just wanted to be a good husband. And so therefore that was my primary why. Secondary to that is I inadvertently went to the doctor to get a checkup and went down a whole health scare path that was unexpected. And so that became kind of a secondary why. Now, again, I said it just a minute ago, the one thing I focused on was not necessarily getting myself healthier. It was just lowering my A1C. I had to have a target. I had to have something I could look at and something that I could measure because unlike a lot of people, I'm data driven. I like the analytics of things. I like to know where I am, where I'm going, where my benchmarks are, where my success elements are. And that's how I drive to determine whether or not I am succeeding my goal at the pace in which I want to succeed it. At this moment, we're in the gym. I have stopped drinking sodas and stopped drinking sweet tea. Now I'm trying to see what Jen's doing because Jen's having this huge amount of success. And so I'm trying to emulate her and say, what are you doing? And so she says, well, I'm actually taking in she didn't say macros. She says, I am tracking what I'm eating. And so I was like, oh, that seems like a good next step. And I have her to lean on. Fast forward a little bit. I ended up taking and losing a bit more weight, but then I hit a stall. I'm surprised I lasted longer than about a week of no additional weight loss. Somehow I lasted about 10 weeks. And finally she had said,
do you want some help?
Yeah. I see you're frustrated and you have been for a while. Would you like my help now? Right? So
because I had been asking this entire time and he's just like, no, I can do it. I know how to do this. I can do it. I know how to do this. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And there you go. There's the ego. There's the male ego.
That's true.
That is sitting there saying, absolutely not. I got this. I'm the man. I can fix anything, bang my chest, whatever. Yes. You don't know what you don't know, and I'll be the first person to say that I was ignorant in how I approached this, because once you showed me exactly how to take and manage this myself, I started doing it the way of counting macros, and I lost another 40 pounds fairly quickly. And so I continued to take and focus on my diet, focus on my weightlifting. And so I was always a big guy. I was never what I would say, quote unquote, fit in any capacity. In a nutshell, that's about me. I'm an older man, never been healthy, a medical issue, as well as a spousal support component to my why. So it wasn't just one thing, it was a combination of things that drove me to find my why. None of it came easy. It came from me from a scare tactic perspective on one side, and then a love perspective from another. And so I don't know which one had more chemical power over me, because one, I just want to be a good husband to my wife, but at the same time, I got to have my health in order to be alive and be the best I possibly can be for you.
So any closing words, any tidbits of knowledge that you're always so full of?
Spend the first week, 2 weeks, just eating the way you eat, doing what you do, but find some accountability by tracking and documenting what you're eating so that you can have a visual representation to see how many calories you are actually putting into your body. That's all I have.